So yeah, again, thanks for joining. We have 30 minutes, so I want to make sure we get through everything, but wanted to circle back in terms of feedback from the integrated campaign process to make sure that everyone's working as cohesively and like on the right timelines as possible in terms of design requests, where the single source of truth is, any clarifications we need to made to the issue template to make sure that, Luke, you're getting what you need and what your team needs from all the individuals requesting design and creative assets. So I know Kristen's I think, Luke, you weren't able to make the CI use case integrated campaign retrospective, were you? I don't remember.
Okay, sorry, you froze for a second.
Yeah, you cut out.
Me? Oh, Luke, were you on the CI use case integrated campaign retrospective?
No, there was a conflict with the growth marketing. So.
No, just wanted to clarify. There was some feedback just about making sure that everyone had the right assets to, and making sure that it was in the timeline needed to be able to execute and turn those around in the required timeline. So Kristen, Will, I don't know if you want to speak to a little bit any questions that you have about the design request process.
So on that meeting, I had just brought up how in different integrated campaigns, I started to see different formats of how we request assets. And I also think that maybe like my definition of what like specs are could differ from others at GitLab. Like for me, for organic social, a spec to me is like an image size, but I was seeing that I was by the same NPMs being asked like on multiple occasions, like, no, like we still need the specs. And I'm like, but these are the specs. The specs is the image size. So I just want to make sure that I have a better understanding of everything that the design team needs in order to take that image request, because I think that.
Yeah, good point. And I think we had sort of like made a shift like I think for the CI campaign or something. So originally we had a template where for the design requirements, there were tables within the issue, and that just kind of created a mess. So then we shifted to a spreadsheet, but didn't really, I think we went back and updated the template, but then others had already created it with the old issue template, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think we should be on the same page as far as like, I feel like the spreadsheet is going to be a little bit more cut and dry in terms of like, here's the channel, here are the dimensions or specs as you call them. And then here's any like copy CTA if that is necessary for the design side of things, and then who it's requested by. Or a template as part of a tab within the Gantt chart. Few different spreadsheets, and we had tables, and
yeah,
so
and I feel like a lot of things get lost in comments when it comes to design requests specifically. I feel like we're always catching up in comments, and then like I miss it, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to use the image that Matt's using then.
Right. Yeah. So I think yeah, that's a great point too. And that going forward is that we should make sure they're documented in the spreadsheet tab or wherever it ends up being, versus inline comments, because yeah, those definitely get lost. So we can use kind of that spreadsheet as sort of the single source of truth for all the images that everyone requests, and then kind of linked out to, like, we could even add like a link to the specific asset within the spreadsheet so that it's easy to find the Facebook image, the Twitter, LinkedIn, etc.
Okay.
That way people don't have to dig around in comments for that either.
And then, well, I don't know if you wanted to add just like a general difference of like what organic looks for that's like separate from paid.
Yeah, and I think, and this is probably worth a handbook update as well, now that we can move faster with that. Something to probably think through as well, in addition to what we're talking about formatting and timelines, is maybe simplifying what it is we're asking for and where it belongs, because there are two major differences between organic and paid as far as the assets are concerned. And really the one that we need, if we have somewhere to link to, can be developed further upstream and shouldn't be an ask after the page has gone live. So obviously paid has real limitations on the visual representations and text and things like that. And Matt and the agency do a good job of making sure that that stuff passes, you know, the bar that it needs to. In the exact opposite sense for organic social, we want people in bold words and bold colors and whatever we can do to kind of draw out the branding of things, because we rely on it being eye-catchy versus the dollars to spend on the targeting side. So usually what works for paid, very simple graphics and text not being on the image, is the exact opposite to that we need for organic. However, if we're linking to a GitLab owned page, and this is not 100% yet because I'm still working page by page format, if we can get the design request to have an open graph added to be custom, an open graph image customized into the front matter of each page that we're linking to, that image can be created along with the page. And by the time the link is live and any other marketers that we're working with are saying, okay, you can go with this now. If we have time to, you know, we have open slots this week or next week to schedule things out with, we can do so. And we're not waiting on the, oh, this doesn't have a custom image. Either we need to create one ourselves, which we can do, or we need to go back to the design team or somebody else to find where the visuals may be representing something that are a part of the campaign. So it wasn't integrated marketing, but as an example, the DevSecOps survey that launched this week, obviously that was a completely separate design process and branding behind that and all of those visuals. We would not have wanted to take our own liberties in creating something if it wasn't going to follow the visual branding that the design team had already put together. So I think that one open graph connection and putting that in the workflow eliminates duplicate asks, needing to have multiple varieties of images because you only need it in the one size, one format. The general safety and cushions of each image are going to be the same. So you create once and it's done. And as long as we're linking to a page with that front matter image attached, we won't need any additional assets in order to promote the link. That is a trying and continuous challenge because, as I'm learning, a lot of our pages are formatted differently through both Markdown, HTML, YAML files, and I'm learning a lot about what these things mean and how they work. And some of them don't have the ability to pull that info yet. But it's in the, like it's capable. We have to just go back and add it. And then in the handbook for when people are updating like webcasts, for example, add the template that says Twitter image to it and make sure that that was a part of the process. So I think a lot of the work on this isn't necessarily going to be the day-to-day, how do we get designs for organic to work in this campaign, but more about how do we make sure that we have it documented in the way and organized that for every time another epic is opened or a particular issue is open to work through this, that it's a part of that existing workflow. So by the time the link is live and we can go, we have everything we need up front and we don't have to ask anybody else for additional assets.
Cool. Okay. No, that's awesome. Thanks for clarifying the difference there. I either overlooked that in some of the campaigns or just thought they were kind of one and the same. So that's super helpful. And kind of getting a 2-for-1 out of the open graph, I think is awesome. One, it looks better when we share links, and then 2, you know, it gives you that visual asset that you're looking for as well.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I mean, we're starting to work on that. So as an example, the webcasts page that we have, and I know we update a YAML file that essentially creates the individual pages that we can link to for webcast registration.
Right.
That previously was not able to pull metadata from the front matter area specifically for social sharing cards. But Brandon Lyon, who's been really a good partner in kind of identifying what pages are working and which ones aren't, helped us connect that on the back end. I don't know what he did, but now we can actually add that template there. And as long as we're informing the people who are building the webcast pages that they should likely have an asset already, it'll be in there. And then it obviously work across Slack, social sharing, and everything else where that image would get pulled in.
Right. Okay. Awesome. That's great.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that, Will.
That's really good feedback. I'm curious from all of your experience in doing several of these integrated campaigns, it seems like there is somewhat of a package of this. These are the typical ads we'll ask for each of the channels, both social and paid. Is that something that we might want to venture into where in this spreadsheet that we're using as a single source of truth, we have all of those specs outlined and it's simply adding the copy per campaign? And I say simply, but that could take some time, especially diving through all of the messaging. But so that we have these assets for every every resource that's aligning.
Or
No,
It's always delightful when it pauses like at the
like
right there.
You were about to say like the thing.
No.
So we all got a little closer to the screen, like what?
My internet is so unstable today. But so repite. So it's like, would it make sense to have kind of a package per campaign where that single source of truth spreadsheet it has like the general specs, and specs meaning the image sizes and the resolution that's necessary, and then it's a matter of adding the copy for each campaign. So it's kind of like a package deal. I think I was talking with Erica about this as well. Luke, I don't know if you talked with her about that, for each piece of content as it's going to be launched too, so that like if we have a new ebook coming out, we already have that package of image sizing, so it's in like a library.
Okay. Yeah.
That would kind of be the same for what Will was mentioning about having just like that open graph list. So it's like when I'm sharing the ebook, when I'm sharing the blog, when I'm sharing the landing page, that would all be taken care of in that one step.
Okay. I don't know what an open graph is, but I might need to dig in with that with you on that.
I'm sorry. The social. So when you link to something on social media, the image that comes in that you can click on to go to the link, that picture is the open graph. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you.
And we have the capability to select what that image is.
Okay, I think I like basically understand. Like when you hit a social share, it's pulling some image, but instead of having it be just any image, it would choose. If it's Twitter, it'll pull in Twitter. So you have to have that library of images across the platforms. All right. And is it like a package for where you place a code on every landing page and it pulls from a library, or do you have to manually edit each page to say this is the image? Does that make sense? Like, are you editing?
So it could be both. There's a lot right now that I'm sure you see like through Slack, it'll just pull like the GitLab generic logo with like that bluish purple background. So somebody somewhere upstream made that like the generic rule that if it can't pull everything, a unique one for this particular page, it'll pull that instead, which is a good, safe haven. So there's at least something. But we want to get more granular and have individual custom images per pages, especially when it's something that we want to link on organic social, because we don't have the ability like on the paid side where you can choose the image individually different from what's on the landing page, because that's the feature we lack on organic that we can't control for, other than if it's already embedded in the page.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
In a perfect world, you would all like, I've seen that like in a CMS where you're like input URL for image and it populates your open graph for you.
Yeah, that would be a perfect world. Unfortunately, I don't think we could do it that way.
Yeah,
so I've
I
actually
used Sitecore in my last company.
Yeah, I opened an image folder directory that I update and then push the image to merge and then take the URL and add that to the front matter. So it's a little more manual, but it isn't something that's time consuming once the image has been created.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's see.
So I guess a question would be, is that part of Will's workflow where you're always that person who puts that image in once design has created it, or is this like a step and repeat process for who's ever building the landing page?
And I think it could be either. Now that I have the maintainer rights for our project, so I could do that and get it done. So if somebody tags me with the finished asset, I can immediately take that, upload it to the image folder, wait until that's merged and then provide the URL in the front matter. So as an example, I've done that we're doing that for our PR press releases as well, because they had no images associated with them. And sometimes we do share them. So Christina Weaver will tag me in the merges to add that particular URL to the front matter so that it pulls the social image. And again, it only takes a few minutes other than for the actual merge process, which we know can maybe sometimes take a while depending on what's on the train, but it isn't a large task. So I think it is something that I can be assigned and be done with. We just have to make sure we're documenting that somewhere. That's it, like the checkbox says like tag Will wants this image and give him the URL or something like that.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure to ask, because it sounds like that would be like a note somewhere in this, maybe like the Gantt sheet
Oh,
Aren't
Julia's
that-
Jackie.
Sorry about that. I just switched the internet, so it should be better now. But rough mornings.
Gotcha.
So
Okay. Yeah.
don't
So
know
I was
what I
just
missed.
commenting about. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. I was just commenting about kind of the tag will whenever the open graph image is there. So maybe we could add that as a component to the design requirements issue, because I think, and maybe that's a question for the group too. Like, does it work well to collect the requirements in one issue and then deliver them in the same issue? Does that? I mean, it doesn't make a difference to me. I just didn't know if that's confusing for others or if that makes sense to have just that single issue.
Thinking from like a project management standpoint, I think one challenge with this current process is that, and I'll admit, like, I think I created this back in the day. So like judging that if we have multiple DRIs for an issue, it's much more difficult to know that whatever the delivery output is complete. So when we have like 7 people delivering their requirements, I think it may make it a bit more difficult or not follow like best practice. But that being said, I think opening a bunch of issues to input the copy and specs, I don't know if that's also the most efficient way. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Paul?
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
'Cause
I mean, maybe,
I think it makes Luke's job harder in managing it. My thought, I mean, I guess more of an opinion is it'd be good just to have one spreadsheet where we have everything. And then that way everybody just knows what that link is as far as like notification. I think Monica and Luke, you've done this to me where it's like, here, here's just a repeat. It's like in the issue, hey, your images are done. Here's a link to the spreadsheet again, but we have the spreadsheet in the main description as well. And I'm not sure if it also has like within the description, if I don't know, a check mark makes sense in the description where it's like, hey, Luke's done, he just checks it off, then we can just see in the description that it's been completed too. Just spitballing ideas.
yeah. I mean, the other I think could be like, obviously everything lives in the spreadsheet, but it could be like there's like this like golden date of like this spreadsheet is complete, and the DRI is the one who says, hey, like all the images are complete, go to this document to find your individual assets. Or I guess assets probably come out as content pieces come out.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it comes back to that thing we were talking about yesterday. It's like things come out as the new piece comes out.
Well, and it's also that I know, Matt, you're using more assets than just the specific campaign landing page. Like things that are aligned to the campaign, we're going to use them. So if you have the CI use case campaign, you're not just going to only drive to the campaign landing page. You may drive to other webcasts that are aligned to the use case. So I don't know if we also need to just have, like, if we want to keep it all in one and just have one single source of truth, if we have the URL or the MR, if it's like in progress, I don't know, like listing out the offers that are going to have each type of
like how Jenny has the spreadsheet set up where she has a tab for each asset. That way I know it's like, hey, go to this spreadsheet for this campaign, go to this tab for this asset, instead of having to sort through one spreadsheet to find a creative for a specific like landing page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see. Okay, let me think. Okay, so going back to what actually I just had open, this is what Luke has created, which is like, this is what he needs. He needs the channel, the dimensions, graphic, copy, the CTA button, and listing who's requesting it. So for target one, I was kind of curious, what does the target mean versus having, like, does that mean asset?
Right. Yeah. So I Like I think Matt had built them out for the CI campaign. But yeah, so basically we're targeting specific like ebook or white paper.
Okay. So what if we have just like, I mean, this could get insane, but a single Google Doc that has every asset and all of the design requests and output in one spot. So for example, like where I think we have like 60 different assets, we'd have like 60 different tabs, or maybe we break it out by use case, but try putting it in a separate doc. Part of me wants to put it in the Gantt doc, because just similarly, if we had multiple webcasts aligned to a single use case, we would have multiple tabs that say like Anthos GitOps webcast, and then, hey, we have another webcast happening in June. And so those have their own tabs. I'm worried about it becoming really crazy, but at least it would all be in one
like
spot.
60.
I know that's why I was thinking if you have the asset along the left, then you'd be able to maybe have different filter views for each asset type. So if you said the asset is, let's say, mastering CI/CD, whatever, and you have that for like, you have that for like the next 40 requests, and then you have modernize your CI/CD. Like I'm just using the two that are off the top of my head, and you have those across, and we have these this is like the CI design requirements. Then we could have a filter view logic where you create new filter view and you say, I only want to see everything with mastering CI/CD.
Right.
And then that is your mastering. And we have a filter view for each asset type aligned to the use case. Because typically we shouldn't see new assets being created or new webcasts being created that don't align purpose-driven to a use case or a partner or some sort of integrated campaign. I mean, I think if we have those, it's a one-off and we should be avoiding that because it should line up. But what do you think of that format so that we don't have 40 tabs? I don't know how many lines we expect for each campaign type, but we would have those general, hey, we have these requests for every single asset.
Mm-hmm.
And that way the columns B through D are package deals. And we know we need that for every asset. And then it's a matter of dropping in the content copy and knowing who the requester will likely be. And then I don't know where you would like to put the asset, but I do think it was helpful to have a link directly to where it was in the lab repository, like for the actual asset. Look, I think we did that with some of the old integrated campaigns. I don't know if that's still the process, but I think we went away from that for a reason. I can't remember. But
yeah,
thoughts?
I'm trying to recall. Yeah, I'm open to that if it's easier because we can. They're all.
Is it good for you? Like, I want it to be good for everyone. So maybe there's an optimal solution.
Right.
I see that be like the culprit here because I'm going to have a lot more assets than a lot of other people. So I can see Luke and Monica and whoever else spending a lot of time just pasting links into this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's totally fine for at least my end, just like have a general link. Like, and Luke says, hey, here are all your assets in this folder. And then I just go find them. I don't know how much time it takes, but I can see it being a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of restructured because it used to be we kind of had links all over the place based on channel essentially, and now we're bundling them by campaign. So, like within like the CI use case, there's like email, social, web, display. So like I could just drop a link to that like display folder, and you could just dive into there, and that's where all of the assets would be. So it wouldn't be. I think with this new sort of way we're organizing files, I feel like it could be a little bit simpler and not having to drop a very specific link to every single image, but just a general one that says, hey, all of the social images are in this folder. And then you can kind of, pick out and download what you need.
Yeah, that's fine for me. Yeah, I just don't want you to spend time like, hey, this
Right.
50 by 250 is located in this link.
Yeah, because I think that's what we originally did, and yeah, that was pretty time consuming. So
Yeah.
yeah.
As far as the spreadsheet format, like, my preference is to have separate tabs. It's either going to be a long spreadsheet or it's going to be a bunch of different tabs. So I guess whatever's easier for Luke. I personally like separate tabs because I can just go, hey, this asset, but the filters work too.
Question about this, and I don't have a particular. Oh, sorry. When you hear yourself talk, it's apparently an actual form of torture. So I'm sorry, I had to pause. I don't know where it is in the process, Luke, but I wonder. Obviously, iterating on this is important, and making sure it works for your team is more, as long as everybody else as well. But I know somewhere on our timeline, the team is looking at like an asset manager and going through what that might look like and which vendors to work with and that kind of thing. Is that something that's probably happening this calendar year based off of where you guys are? Because I think finding just the right iteration on this and knowing that's going to be coming down the line is probably what our next step is, if that's something that's like in the foreseeable future. And if it's not, then maybe we do keep working on this every integrated campaign. We have maybe, you know, every couple of months we get back together and figure out how to make this look right, because this is obviously important, but I don't want to throw that away thinking like we actually have a digital solution where we're going to have people have logins and comments and all this other stuff that's featured in those, knowing that that's coming.
Yeah, I don't have any knowledge of anything specific. As far as I know, it's just kind of conversations. And I know from Shane Bouchard, like we sort of started to develop these asset libraries, and so we're doing those on Google Drive, and kind of the idea is that we can essentially build a case around that maybe that doesn't necessarily work for a number of reasons, and then we can, like I said, build our case towards adopting some sort of platform. But I don't really have any idea on kind of timeline for that at the moment.
Okay. I mean, feedback on that too. You guys, I think Monica helped lead to it was not tied to a campaign, an integrated marketing campaign, but tied to just remote assets that y'all had put together. And that was a really, at least for us, it was great to kind of have this like pick and choose library of things to put together. And I don't know if there's maybe learnings from the way that you guys did that we can apply in this too.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to circle back. I feel like we had feedback documented somewhere. But yeah, that's a good point. I'll dig into that.
Okay, so I know we're at time. Just to kind of circle things to try next. I know Matt was kind of posing, is it better to do use the single sheet with filter view, or to try with different tabs for each asset? Luke, do you have a preference?
As long as as long as the filter gets created, I'm fine with that. But yeah, I mean, either way, I think I feel like we're accomplishing the same thing. It's just a matter of like making sure that I feel like the filter is maybe a little more hidden. So making sure that people create that versus like creating tabs is a little bit easier. But yeah, either way is fine, because I just get a single view of what's needed for that specific asset. So
okay, and the filter views can be copy pasted. Sorry, go ahead, Kristen.
Okay.
If we do go with the filter, I would just suggest kind of like how on the Google Analytics tool sheet we have at the top right, at the top left, they have like in italic words, this is how you use it.
Yeah.
So it could just be like, this is how you filter.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I could see like maybe someone not knowing it's there and then just
commenting you anyways and saying, where are my assets?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, maybe there's a little bit of a learning curve for filters, but if we can get past that, I'm good with that.
A legend or something on the right-hand side would be fine.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess one quick question before we go. So Matt, when you say you would want a tab per asset, do you mean a tab per like, here's all of the assets for the ebook, or do you mean a tab for like, here, like literally every single app?
Tab per landing page, right? So
got it. Okay.
This ebook has like, here are all the creative for this ebook. Here's all the creative for this webcast. Separate tabs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you for your feedback. I'll post the recording into the calendar invite and into this meeting doc. I think we might want to circle back on this. I think there's a lot of, because this is a really integral process and we do have 2 new use cases coming out. They have a lot less content, so it'll be more like regimented over time, Kristen, how we spoke about. So let's make sure that this is like the optimal before we move forward and have it employed for the GitOps and version control and collaboration integrated campaigns. I might find some quick time on Friday maybe, or Thursday, and also bring in the MPMs that are aligned to those use cases to get some feedback as well. I'll have them watch the recording first.
Yeah, one topic I would maybe want to throw in there is, and Luke, it's probably more stuff on my end, is how we handle ad testing and the best way to approach that.
Yeah.
Because I know that's something that we've talked about. It's just time. We haven't really gotten around to it. So I would like that to somehow get incorporated into this, because I know that MPMs have reached out in the past and said like, hey, let's test this other message. So I just want to create a process where we can leverage that into what we're creating here as well.
And is any of that in the handbook? Any learnings, the process from?
Yeah, we haven't, like, I have some of the stuff from PMG. It's something that's new. So as I'm formulating that, that's going to be one of my tasks, is to, once we define it, put it in the handbook.
Okay. All right, great. Yeah, that'd be good to be able to document while it's still fresh from the CI use case campaign. Excellent. All right, thanks, all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good one. See ya.